Satisfaction. Pure action. Satisfaction. Satisfaction. Pure action.
How you doing? Everyone ready? Comfy, settled? Welcome, thank you for coming down. My name is Shy One, and I am hosting today's producer talk with the legends, the pioneers, NameBrandSound, Mr. IG Culture, and Alex Phountzi. Now, time is pretty limited, and I feel like, well, you know, with such extensive catalogs, yeah, we're going to get into a lot, potentially, so I'm not really going to delay. And you already know their history, you know where they come from. And we want to focus, I would like to get into the current project, which is NameBrandSound, and how this came about.
Is the mic on? It is.
Oh, IG?
Check, 1, 2, yes.
All right, firstly, sorry, how are you both doing?
Yes, good, good.
Very well, thanks.
Yeah, comfy? Got your beverages?
Yes.
Yep, my cranberry juice.
Oh, all right. Cleansing. And yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to get straight into it and ask about, before we get into NameBrandSound, which is the present, the first ever, like, what brought you two together musically, the first ever track or project, whether it came out, whether it exists out here to us, but
Well,
that first crossing of paths.
We were actually discussing this afternoon, just to make sure we got the facts right. But we met as part of, you know, as our involvement in the broken beat scene in the late 90s, and I think we tracked down the IG. Probably a collaboration we were known for early on was a track between a group I was part of called Neon Fusion and IG's group, New Sector Movements, and we did a track called Future Ain't the Same. But there was actually one before that that came out on Main Squeeze.
Yes, that's right. Main Squeeze was a label that I was running at the time, and there was a project on that label called The Black Tones with myself and one member of the Bugz In The Attic. And on a remix of, it was a track called Flying High, which I'm sure Adam Rock knows. Adam Rock's in the place, big up.
Adam Rook.
It was a B-side of a one of the first 12s I released on the label, and we were all collaborating anyway at the time. And at the time, I was collaborating with the Bugz In The Attic extensively. I was, you know, we were the first out of the gate basically in the whole broken beat scene, so we were collaborating together. Myself, Kylie Tatham, I was working with Seiji, I was working with Mark de Clivelo, who was around the Bugz at the time, and I was working with Alex Phountzi.
Yeah, so that was the first collaboration.
And was that wasn't one track? Was that just loosely collaborating, just getting in and jamming?
Yeah, that was us. It was at the old Bugz studio in it was in North Acton, Park Royal Business Estate or Trading Estate, and yeah, we had a studio down there, and there were a load of us in the studio, and yeah, it was that was the first time. It was good times. Wasn't the nicest studio, but a lot of good music came out of there.
I feel like the best music does come out of them kind of spots, right? And similar to the best nights, everything comes from dark, dingy basements, windowless, smelly spots. Shout out to CDR, Plastic People. So then years later, well, how much later then in between that time? Not trying to, you know, hot up your ages or whatever, but
well,
like, did NameBrandSound come about? Because that's quite a big gap, I feel like.
I mean, do you want to...
When was it? Well, myself and Alex, we were always bucking each other up and saying, "Oh, we should work. We should work." I liked his vibe. He liked my vibe. But we never actually worked. We just talked about it. And he was listening to some shows I was doing at the time. I was doing like a Friday, every Friday on Rinse FM. And I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna play what I wanna play. So at the time I was playing a lot of footwork and juke stuff. And I was playing a lot of Japanese juke. So I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna play juke, but I'm gonna play the left center juke. And Alex was checking out what I was doing, and he hit me up and he said, yeah, let's link and let's do some work. And that time we linked and we just jumped straight into it. And the original plan, I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, but the original plan was to do an album together of the style I was messing with and he was interested in, which was the footwork thing. But then we ended up just doing tracks, basically. We never got around to doing the album, but we just started to collaborate more and more.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, obviously, what we're known for is that period, that broken beat period, the co-op and everything, and that had ended around this time. And we weren't, you know, that whole scene was like one big collaboration. I'll get some mad feedback off this mic, but that scene was, you know, everyone was collaborating. So we'd kind of all gone off in our own different directions, and IG was doing his thing, I was doing mine. We'd moved away from the broken beat thing because there wasn't really much happening, and we were just exploring other things. So when we came back and started working, we were like, well, what are we going to do? And it was like, well, we're going to just try and do something completely different to what we've been known for. But I guess, you know, the whole thing is it's been the collaboration has been a catalyst for a load of other stuff that's also happened since.
I want to say though, and I don't want to hot anyone up, but at the time when we was experimenting with the footwork, well, to me it was just like sped up bruk to me. You know, I got into it just because I got interested in the dance movement in Chicago, where they're doing but I wasn't sure about the music. And I bought an album called Bangs and Works Volume 1.
Yeah, I got that.
And I was in the record shop, Honest John's, and I was hearing this crazy stuff, and I was just like, what's this? I don't get it. But there was something in it, and I bought the album anyway, and I took it home, and then I listened to it more and more, and then it just got me, and then I couldn't listen to anything else for the next couple of years. I wouldn't listen to anything else. So to me, it was kind of just like a fresh energy. And a lot of people didn't really understand why I was doing it, but I'm a black belt in this beats thing, so you're supposed to do it faster, you know what I mean?
But this is also you getting into juke and footwork is like, I've got quite a few of your records, and it's funny because I didn't realize how many of your records I had because you got so many aliases. Even I swear one time in the dance I realized I think you were taking the piss a bit because you asked me whose a track was by, and I told you, I think, and then I went home and like weeks later I was doing my search on Discogs and I clocked it was you under a different name. I swear, a Son of Scientist track.
Oh.
Yeah, I swear you asked, and then weeks later
He'd probably forgotten it was him himself.
Maybe. I'm pretty sure I have that like quite clear in my mind. But I digress, sorry. Like, and yeah, you did like different ranges, different styles, but juke and footwork seems like quite an extreme other end of like, speed-wise, tempo-wise.
I think that's why we wanted to go and explore that, because it was so extreme, but also like when I got into electronic music, I was getting into things like jungle. So the sampling and all that kind of stuff seemed normal. And it was kind of, after kind of going down the broken beat thing, where there was lots of musicians, it was like, okay, let's go back and start sampling stuff as well. So I think that's part of it.
I mean, the thing about the, these mics are really loud, you know. The thing about the broken beat thing, and Adam Rock, who's here, he will tell you that sometimes in the club, people come in and they'll be like, oh, this is like slowed down drum and bass. And sometimes, you know, people couldn't even catch the one. and there will be, and sometimes you'll have to go like that in the club for them to know where the one was. But as I said, to me, it was just like sped up bruk. So I kind of took to it like nothing, you know.
Yeah. And well, I'm interested, like, because you was already listening to it for years and like into it. How was it for you then, Alex, for IG to be like, yo, let's do this thing, but let's do it faster than you've ever... Well, no, sorry, you came from Jungle, actually.
Well, we'd been kind of linking up and exchanging music. So, you know, it wasn't just that we were checking out. We were checking out a lot of the other stuff that was coming out of the UK in that period as well. So it wasn't just that. I mean, IG was really into that. Do you know what I mean? More so. But I was like... So I had a awareness of it, and I was checking some of the stuff out. So it wasn't that unusual. And then for me, like I said... You know, I latched onto it because of the drum and bass jungle kind of thing, and that, you know, I saw a kind of parallel with all of that kind of stuff, so I got into it in that way.
Okay. And like, did you have to, like, embarking on this new sound together, and kind of this new sound, a new project, new thing, did you have to alter or kind of compromise or change what setups you were working with at the time, each of you, gear-wise, approach, formula, if you had one?
No, not really. I mean, it was just literally turn up, and, you know, I think we were just really kind of working, you know, with logic, and same approach, I would say. I mean, that's how it felt for me. I mean, I don't know about you. I mean, we weren't using all of the analog synths, but beyond that, it felt kind of almost like back to basics in some ways.
I'm smiling just because it's a crazy period. A little story, I actually, during the first few months we was linking, I basically trained Alex in Wing Chun Kung Fu and took him up to yellow sash, and I got him graded, and he got his yellow sash. And that was one of the things we did as part of a connection.
The NameBrandSound.
It was a crazy connection, you know.
That wasn't part of the script. We didn't.
I just when we was talking about it, it just came to my mind.
Love that. It's like a Batman film.
But I think, you know, like I said, the key was, I guess, the spirit was in the collaboration, because we were kind of felt cast adrift of any other kind of scene. We weren't at that point. We didn't feel part of any kind of scene, I guess. So it was good just to kind of, and it was just literally in the studio. You know, we're meeting up once, twice a week, doing a session, coming out with a track every time. Not always releasing it, but always having something at the end of each session, and just you know, just working all the time. And then we put out a record.
What was that first record?
We did it with a guy called Dean Bryce on a Ninja tune. Basically, as you know, we sent it some tunes out actually, and then we did an EP. So we had some DJs playing some stuff.
You talking about System Ad?
Yeah, and people on like Rinse DJs were playing it, and we started like finding all these kind of new DJs who'd never played our music before. And then we did an EP with this Ninja Tune affiliate called Technicolor, through a guy called Dean Bryce, who makes music under the name Photo Machine. And he kind of knew both of our histories, and I just sent him some stuff, and he was really into it. He wanted to do an EP, so he did this EP, and kind of launched it. But I think a lot of people were quite surprised by the direction we'd taken. A lot of people who knew previous music, although we kind of saw this link in, you know, as IG said, felt like kind of sped up bruk in a way. So we kind of approached it with the same spirit that we had approached all that early bruk stuff.
How fast was that EP? Like, what was the fastest track?
Yeah.
That was okay. Yeah, that's
Well, at times we saw it as halftime 80 BPMs as well. So we would go from 160 to the kind of more laid back groove. And the more we did it, the more we kind of started to develop something which was away from the Chicago juke sound. And we sent a track. In fact, we sent the EP to Giles, and then he put it on his page and he said Bruckworks.
That was a bit later though, wasn't it? That was
Is that the second EP?
I think so. That was when we were actually slowing the tempo down again, but yeah.
But he said Bruckworks, and I was just like, Bruckworks.
Yeah.
And we started to call the stuff Bruckworks. And that kind of led us back. Well, that and a few different things led us back to our thing, you know, which is Bruck, you know.
A bit slower, yeah. But sorry. And I wanted to ask a bit more about the influences, because it's not just obviously broken beat. Like, there's maybe some influences that people wouldn't expect. Definitely for yourself, IG, from our chat before the talk, like rare groove.
Yeah, rare groove, dancehall, obviously Juke, RP Boo, Traxman, Rashad, who's basically today, it's been 8 years today.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
Yeah, since he passed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all the Chicago guys, Tay, that was a big influence, as well as, you know, the jungle, rare groove, street soul, UK street soul, jazz, everything was thrown in, and it just got more extreme. I say extreme just because we started putting stuff in the music that you don't usually hear in Juke, just because that was our influences anyway. You know, jazz, reggae, soul, that was our influences anyway. So we was bringing it back into the music.
That's kind of the thing, is that all the influences that we were putting into that were the same influences that went into the Bruck stuff.
Right.
But and I think we just saw it as a different way of presenting those influences. Just, you know, there was this template of around 160 where, you know, all the music in that scene is made, and we thought, okay, we'll work within that template and then just try and twist it a bit. But I don't think there's necessarily any influences beyond the contemporary influences that were different to what was influencing all the Bruck stuff. But sometimes with a genre, as it develops, it can become like a sort of ever decreasing circle of, like, at the start you've got all these influences coming in, and then people just start getting influenced by within the genre, and it sort of, you know, so it was kind of a way to return. We saw it as a way to return to, like, bringing loads of stuff, and we did this. There was one period where we got into no wave, taking loads of no wave influences.
But you do Juke, and you get 30,000 views.
Yes, it's got a big fan base.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't do it for that, but then we started doing mixes with people, and then it's just like, wow, a lot of people are checking what we do, you know. We didn't kind of believe the hype, obviously, because we're old heads. We was just like, oh, that's funny, you know. But
then we started getting booked to do DJ gigs and stuff, and it was a different world for us.
yeah,
And
that's why we said, nah, this is not our world, you know.
What, the Juke thing?
Yeah. It's just a whole different thing. We did Outlook Festival, and it was just like we were playing on what's that sound system?
It was a great sound system.
Is it Mungos?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We was playing all completely different worlds, and we was just like, you know what, this is not for us. Really,
So yeah,
you know?
it was the thing that was crossing over, because we're actually at that time we also did Dimensions the week before, and it was a co-op stage, because that was just starting to
Pick up
co-op, and yeah, it was kind of at that point realised it was like, okay.
How was Dimensions compared to Outlook, though? Because they're quite different, the crowd and the programming.
Well, for us, Dimensions was a better gig.
Yeah,
But,
also Outlook's a bit younger, I'd say.
yeah, more. But yeah, it was interesting.
So you're not opposed to NameBrandSound DJ sets in the future?
No. It's just now we've changed. Where we were with NameBrandSound is we've kind of come back to the Bruck thing, but with a slightly different perspective.
Yeah. And is it that same approach you said, like how it came about in the beginning, the early stages of NameBrandSound, just the first jamming and that? Is it still the same kind of thing? You just come studio and just go?
Well, it's different now, just because we were doing it up to lockdown, and then obviously lockdown kicked in, and then no one can come out anymore. So it killed our vibe basically. So you know, we were trying to work online over Zoom and stuff like that, but it's not the same, you know. So ever since lockdown, we haven't done it like how we used to do it, you know.
We're finishing up a new EP at the moment, but yeah, it's like that kind of that was a period where it was just religious, and then up until the pandemic hit, then that stopped. That era's now over. Now it's a kind of a new period.
But it's kind of launched us into so many different things that we still do together, you know.
What, like new things, what you kind of worked around that obstacle of not being able to link up physically and collab?
But like we've obviously now in alongside doing the NameBrandSound thing, then I mean I guess you want to talk about how the Co-op Presents thing relaunched, and we started a label, so we collaborate now as label owners.
Okay.
Well, it kind of kicked off. I was just about to go on this tour in Japan, and I read this article in what was it, Guardian, and it was talking about Broken Beat and who were the new faces in Broken Beat, and I was just like, no, he ain't. And I was just like, you know what? If there's gonna be something said about the music, then who better than the people who were there at the beginning to talk about it? Because one guy said to me, I won't mention his name, but he said to me, and he gave me some good advice. He says, you're part of this thing, and if you walk away, other people might come in and you won't even get recognized for what you was doing. You know, so I spoke to Errol, who was working for Boiler Room, and I said, I've got this idea to do a co-op session, Boiler Room. And
I mean, he was keen to do it anyway, wasn't he? He'd like shown an interest already.
But I said to him, look, I don't want to do it like how you do Boiler Room. I just want to do it like how Co-op does it, like a proper session. You film the session, not film loads of people behind us going like that, you know. And that's how everything kicked off. But we're kind of digressing, innit? We're taking you away from
this is the point. It's a talk, yeah. This ain't a strict form, you know. This ain't a strict interview formula. So please do continue. That was a great session, and that was for myself, as someone who I got exposed to Broken Beat by my mum, because I was just a bit too young. Maybe a bit less than just a bit too young, but yeah, I remember her like putting me on maybe when I was 10. I was like 10 in 2000. So, damn, I'm one of the older DJs now. But so I just missed out on Plastic People and Co-op and that. So that was, but I grew up with it from a teen with the sound. So that Boiler Room there at Hoxton Basement, that red light one, was my induction. Yeah, but also my like. That was the closest, you know, I would get to what that was, what I assume that was.
Yeah, Adam was there as well, right? And you played, because there were two. There were actually two. There was one. They were a year apart, but yeah, they were great.
Ah, see, I didn't even clock. The other one was it not at Hoxton Basement?
No, they're both there, but only one of them is online.
Oh.
The other one is never got archived. That was the year before.
Okay.
Keep shouting Adam out, but he was one of the foundation crew members of the whole Co-op thing, and he's gone on to do big things with the Jazz Refreshed. And it's funny because you got Adam Rock there, who was one of the original loose collective of selectors, and in front of him you've got the new selectors, a man called Jengis in the front and Risa T. The new generation, you know, we're opening up the door and let them come through, you know what I mean?
Sick. And I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned a part of, whilst we're still on, like, you know, how when you come together, how you collaborate, how you give us the name brand sound, sampling and the remixing and sampling of your own selves. Depending on how much you want to share in your creative process. But like, could you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Well, I guess this is the same for IG as well. But for me, making music, electronic music, started with a sampler. So that was the sound source for everything. Like, so sampling was everything. So, you know, kicks, snares, whatever it is, or musical phrases and chopping stuff up. And the other thing, so that in itself is remixing of sorts, because you're rehashing an idea. And then obviously we've done a lot of remixes under various guises over the years. And I guess you could say that our approach to, our approach to production is that a lot of the time you feel your best work is in as a remix. So I guess, what we end up doing is sometimes just remixing ourselves. So a lot of the tracks, if you work with a singer, maybe like the last NameBrandSound vocal track we did, we made the track, put the singer on it, finished the track, mastered it, and realized it just wasn't right. So you just end up remixing it. So it's just like this constant process of just kind of applying that remix formula that you always give to other people to your own music as well. So yeah, I don't know if you've got anything else to add on that.
With NameBrandSound, we don't care how long it takes to do the track. Sometimes we work on a track and we could be working on that track for ages, and then we would just dash it. We'll just say, nah, that's not ready. But when we're happy with the track, no matter how long it takes, we'll say, okay, that's it, So it's not about the rinse with NameBrandSound. It's a very focused sound. And I really enjoy what we do together, because there's two sides of NameBrandSound. One is a very technical side, just because Alex is a master when it comes to Logic. I mean, I do Logic as well, but he's the don on Logic. Just due to him teaching at college, he's a teacher as well. And, okay, for instance, if I said to Alex, I need a freewheeling, I need a freewheeler. You know exactly what that is, isn't it?
I think so.
What's a freewheeler?
You tell me.
Huh? It's a free. When I ask him for a freewheeler hi-hat, that's a triplet hi-hat, and he'll just put that in, We just have little codes for we made up our own language of music.
If I could be so cheeky as to ask Alex, and how would you put that in? Would you use a MIDI keyboard? Would you use a sequencer? Like,
well, I'd just program it in, or normally, to be honest, we're just normally just there programming it in or playing it in, one or the other. Whatever's easiest, whatever's to hand. Whatever feels right.
And it's Logic, yeah, both of you.
Yeah, but only because that's what we've been using for a long time, not because we're, you get used to using a particular platform. But yeah, I mean.
How do you feel about live sets? Would you try a live thing?
Well, I mean, I do live anyway because I got a band. It's a band called LCSM, and we go live. So the live thing is part of it. I mean, we could do it live. Alex plays guitar. We could easily do it, but we do so many different things. That's just another thing,
Yeah, one more thing to add to the list. Isn't
we haven't thought about taking that live, but I had previous experience of doing electronic music with an MPC live, and that was difficult. But it is easier now. So it should be, maybe it's something to explore.
So we got a couple tracks to get into today. If you're happy to break down, tell the people as much as you're willing to about them.
Yes.
Do you have a specific one that you'd like us to start with?
Should we start with a jukey one?
Yeah, why not?
And then we'll
So I've got
Harvest.
Harvest, yeah? Cool.
Ooh.
Oops. Do I need to? Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Which channel is it? So that was Harvest for Your Manor, Name Brand Sound, taken from the Spell This One EP. And what year was that one?
That was about 4 years ago, I think. That was the kind of
2018.
yeah. So I think we picked that one because that was kind of as we're coming towards the end of the Duke experimentation. Yeah, and I guess that was one where we kind of moved away from the template sound a bit, and that feels to us like kind of in some ways like sped up bruk. Obviously still with the samples in there, and yeah, it was part of like a 7-track EP that came out, and yeah.
On this tune, we messed around with a Pharaoh Saunders track called Harvest, and so I said, okay, let's spin Harvest for the World. There was an old Isley Brothers track called Harvest for the World. And we said, no, let's say Harvest for Your Manor. Because your world could be just your area and your people around you. And basically, it's like a very technical drum programming with the kind of twisted jazz in the background, if you can hear it, you know.
Definitely that upright bass. So is that the sample?
No, that was keyboard bass.
Ah, okay.
I mean, we play as well, you know, but we love a sample.
Yeah, in that track, at times I was finding it hard to clock what is a sample and what is MIDI. Or
Yeah, because nowadays the technology allows you to do so much with a sample, and then obviously you layer it with bits, and again, like, but you know, in many ways that's what we've always done anyway, because we'd always like combine the sample with some playing, and not just with the Duke stuff, like with all the stuff before as well.
And was this track one of those ones where you ended up kind of remixing yourselves or resampling yourselves as well in this?
Well, it was these tracks, we do them and then we redo them, and we just do it until we're both happy, you know. So.
Is it quite easy to land on the same page, or is that?
We're always on the same page. We just know what we want, and we both know when it's what we want.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all based on our musical taste. We're kind of into the same stuff, so as long as it sounds like what we want, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's rare that one of you is really into the track and the other's like, nah, dash it.
Well, if that happens, then we just don't do it. Then it doesn't come out. Or yeah, if it's coming out, then we're both into it.
Makes sense. Should we get into another one?
Yeah.
Which one would you like us to get into next? Oh, we got.
Well, I mean, since NameBrandSound was in the early stages of NameBrandSound, it was based on the Duke thing. So maybe we should go into another Duke one, just so people can.
I don't know if there's any Duke ones there.
No?
Yeah, so there's that one you. So
Yeah, because there's Home, I Don't Want Your remix, and then Can't Hold It.
that's the one.
Okay. So this is much later on where we've kind of developed the whole selectors thing and the Co-op Presents label, and then we've kind of gone back to our bruk roots, but we've taken the bruk works with us. So in this track we've got some bruk works and we've got the broken thing as well, which we don't really use the word broken over our side. We say bruk.
Okay.
And the reason why we say bruk is because we see it slightly different. It's like to us, it's the difference between jungle and drum and bass. So you got broken beat, which is the more kind of jazzy, fluffy stuff, and you got bruk, which is the more, you know, in-your-face, urbanish type of beat.
Okay. So
but you can like both of them, though.
But so Can't Hold It is. Are we talking bruk BPMs? But it's still got that. Got footwork in mind. It's still informed by footwork a bit.
And this was done in collaboration actually with Sonar's Ghost, who was used to make music under the name Domu. So he's another person from the broken beat era. Yeah, it was a track we did. But we were working remotely, so he was sending us something, we'd work on it, and then then we put it out.
And this track used to be like a heavy track in a club up in Birmingham called Bruk Up.
Yes, big up the Bruk Up lot.
I think they do it in a place called Hare and Hounds.
Mm.
So on their videos, you could hear them singing the bass line. They like it like hard up there, you know.
All right, let's get into it. Can't hold it, yeah? And what project is this taken from?
This was from the first Selectors Assemble EP, which actually came out on First Word Records. That came off the back of those Boiler Room sessions, didn't it? Right. Yeah.
Sick. All right. as bass is such a like, am I right in saying this is bass-driven music? It's very prominent, and especially as you're saying in the two kinds of broken beat and bruk. From what I personally feel when I'm listening to bruk over broken beat, what I like is that the bass really comes through, it thumps, and it's like it's the driving force of the tune.
Yeah.
It's always got to be the driving force. It's from that reggae thing, you know, that London urban drum and bass-driven music. That's
Sound system music, right?
Sound system music, yeah. This music, Alex over in his corner and me in my corner, we would never do this. But when we came together and we merged styles, we came up with a hybrid music, which is something that came out of both our heads coming together, you know. And as you can hear in this tune, the juke and footwork inspired us to take it and put it into broken beat and turn it into a new form of broken beat, which we call bruk, which is nothing new anyway, because we used to call the music bruk in the co-op days. We were playing bruk music. There was things like Jippo, Chakadomu, Son of Scientist. We consider them to be bruk classics, you know.
Yeah.
Or they used to call it man beat in the co-op days.
Okay.
You know, the women didn't like it.
Is that the more... Now that you distinguish that, I feel like, I think that's more my preferred side of the broken beat genre. And to me, it feels a bit more rugged, a bit more like kind of straight to the point. Yeah.
It was the thing was trying not to necessarily do a repeat of what had already happened in the earlier era. So it was to try and approach it with all of this new stuff that we'd absorbed, and maybe obviously probably develop new sort of techniques sort of subconsciously. We wanted to sort of put that in, and also probably I guess at this point, in the years since we do our radio show on worldwide, so we're DJing a lot. I mean, we haven't been playing out that much obviously over the last couple of years, but we've gone back out there a lot more again. But at this point when we're doing this kind of stuff, we still weren't really DJing very much, so you're kind of making the music for DJs, but not really out there that much. So you kind of almost got a bit of a more open mind about how you approach it as well.
Yeah. I wanted to come back to touching on bass, and if we could try and get a little bit technical, just a bit of insight behind the scenes, because bass is such a prominent part of these tunes, of this sound, and similar to footwork, it's more prominent in the tracks. As someone who, despite I've been making beats for ages, but I'm still like, on the tutorials every other week if there's something I want to check out I've forgotten. And I feel like these two styles are more unorthodox, and you're an educator in music, right? So you could probably tell me this. Is the way in which you approach and place bass in broken beat and bruk tracks kind of a bit unorthodox in music production, the way how bass is supposed to be sat, or to get what you've achieved, do you have to kind of go against a bit of what you're supposed to be doing? It feels like breaking the rules a little bit. I don't know, just the way that the bass sits and...
Well, as Alex said, because we was away from playing out at the time, we just made our own rules. And, if it sat right with us, then it was right. And, some people listened to it and they thought, what's this kind of weird style you're doing, this fast music? But to us, it totally made sense. And the way we put the bass in, like, I'm hearing reggae.
Yeah, that's I was going to say, like what IG said earlier on about in that something like that you can hear it's more the reggae influence.
Like dub, like originally I did a project called Son of Scientist, and that was inspired by scientists, like the dub mixer. Yeah. And I actually did an interview with scientists. It was Son of Scientist meets Scientist, and I was just like, what's the word? Starstruck. Just because I grew up listening to that music. So I was just interview? I used to do this radio show for Spine TV, and we did like Scientists meet Son of Scientists. So that was my main inspiration for dub music. From dub music was scientists.
Yeah.
So that kind of dub feel comes into the bass lines. Like when you hear that boo, 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 that's like dub. you
Yeah.
know?
So other than, I suppose, listening to dub, if someone wanted any tips out there in the crowd who's like, I'm trying to make a bruk kind of thing, if you was like, anything they should be doing with their bass.
Well, I guess the thing is, you kind of keep tweaking it till the groove's right. And so it often involves a few revisions until it sits exactly as you want it to. And it's a weird thing. It's like you just keep just adjusting it slightly until. But if that's not right, then the whole foundation of the track is just not there. But it's a hard thing to kind of sort of give a tip on, because it's just that kind of thing that you keep.
It's a thing where you have to depend on your musical taste. Just listen to a lot of music and even learn how to sing the bass line. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone can sing a bass line, and then you just sing it and you play what you sing. Or you can think of it in your head, or you can copy it. You know, there's loads of ways to get it. You know?
Sometimes it's about playing a bass line and then reducing it, like taking bits out, so you only have the key elements of it. Because sometimes you play it and it's more you've got more notes than you need. That's what I've always found.
Okay.
So it can be a case of just getting it sitting right with the kick.
Just taken away till it kind of complements everything else in the track.
I mean, one thing I used to do when I was doing broken beat stuff back in the day, where, you know, the bass was always on the one in a lot of music anyway. Like in funk music, the bass is always on boom, boom. You know what I mean? I used to do it off the one, so it's boom, 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 which is one drop from reggae, basically.
Yeah. There's a whole documentary called One Drop, innit? I think there is, or there's some. No, I'm thinking of the one.
Oh, okay.
That's another, if anyone's interested, pretty good. I remember IG actually asked, I think I played a tune of mine in a dance one time, and he was like, where's the one? Where's the one? And then I looked up, or I ended up a couple of weeks later watching this documentary on the one.
Right.
It was quite informative, yeah.
So the one drop is...
And again, that's reggae and dub influence.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you put that into dance music, it gives it a completely different feel, you know, as opposed to just putting the bass on the one, which most people do.
Yeah. Adds more groove in it. Well,
it kind of makes the hard to explain. Well, sometimes when you're in a dance and you hear a tune and your face twists up, you know what I mean? That's, you know.
it's a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling. Yeah.
It's a feeling, yeah.
And I get that feeling from if the bass is off the one. You know what I mean?
It's when you catch it, not when it hits you. But yeah. All right, it's about 9 minutes. I mean, Sean, where you at? Should we get into another track, or should we open up the floor for some questions? Yeah. Do you want me to give a mic?
So you said about doing revisions for bass and getting the bass balance right. Is that after like testing it out and about, or just like listening to it on your headphones?
Well, I mean, I'm sure Alex got to say some stuff about this, but I'm fortunate enough to have like a sound system in the place I'm at, which so it's basically I live at a place where it's kind of like a venue, so we just blast it anyway, and so we always know when the bass is dropping because we hear a mad bass in the place, you know.
So if you're fortunate enough to have a club sound system at home
In your gates.
then that's what's recommended. But otherwise, everything you said.
Yeah, can you tell us anything about mixing and mastering? Because that last track that was played, obviously some of us know that tune, but yeah, it just sounds crazy in here. So can you tell us anything about your mixing and mastering process?
Well, we just work on a track until it sounds finished. A lot of the time, we were working just on NS10 monitors. We haven't been for the last few years, but probably around that time we were using NS10s, Yamaha NS10s, which don't really sound very nice, but if you get it sounding good on them, then it works. But there's nothing in terms of, it's just a case of balancing it, and then, as you said, revising it till it sounds right. We don't like that was mastered, I think, by a mastering engineer called Matt Colton. So we don't. We're old school, I guess, in that sense. We don't do mastering. I mean, we can do it to a DIY level and have put stuff out that way, but we always find at that stage it's nice to get a fresh set of ears on something. But the mixing is just, we just work on it until it's ready.
There's a guy who's part of the Selectors crew, and his name is Extra Brux, and he does a lot of our mastering for us these days.
Yeah.
And check Extra Brux out. Was it Bespoke? Is it
Bespoke? Yeah. Leon Atta, and extra loud masters as well.
Yeah, you'll break your speakers. You're just on the edge,
Do you have like a sort of a methodology? Do you often sort of say start on, say, the beat or the bass, and then build it up in those sort of layers, or like what's your sort of musical sort of starting point often? Do you often have some like idea distinctly in mind when you're making a piece?
Like if we're working together, it can often just start with listening to some music, often with a sample. Like that first track we played started with, we're listening to that Pharoah Sanders record. And then you just think, well, let's sample it. And then sometimes you start with a sample, and if you end up removing the sample, but the sample just kind of gives you either work with it, or it just gives you kind of a bit of energy just to start. Or, anyway, it can start with a beat, it can start with a bass line, this just really wherever you're getting some energy from, really, I'd say.
Okay.
I think that concludes today's talk then. Thank you for sharing the knowledge, sharing the sounds, giving us some insight and behind the scenes. Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
But wait, before you go, please, the next project. When can we expect when and what can we expect next from NameBrandSound?
Well, we've been doing a few remixes. I mean, we've got dozens of projects away from NameBrandSound, but
Oh yeah.
But for NameBrandSound, we've been doing. What's that remix we've done for?
We did it. We've done a remix for T. Williams and Terry Walker, one of their old tracks, and we've got an EP that we're just finishing up that we're going to be releasing on the Co-op Presents label, and we've got multiple projects lined up for that label as well. So yeah.
Wicked. So we can expect some of this before the end of this year.
Yes.
Yeah. We've got some crazy stuff coming this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Can't wait. And I'm guessing the track you remix is Heartbeat.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
But
How did you know?
I mean, that's the
Just
only
guess.
T. Williams and Terry
Right,
Walker track, I
right,
think.
right.
And it's a big tune.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I drop it, it gets a wheel.
yeah.
We also remixed a new artist by his name is Finn Irregular,
Okay.
and that's another remix we've done.
All right.
But because we're so busy on other projects, we haven't really had much opportunity to do much NameBrandSound because
Yeah.
we're just doing so many other things.
So can we expect some other aliases?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So keep your eyes peeled. As I was showing Kendra earlier, Nwake earlier, just go to Discogs and click on these two gents' names, and then you got to go to the aliases and just wait for the new ones to pop up, and that's when you know. unless they obviously look into the label releases. But yeah, you got to keep your eyes peeled for them. But yeah, looking forward to all the new sounds. Thank you so much, Alex and IG.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.